My dear friends, we are approaching the final Sundays of the ordinary time. As you can see, the changing of the seasons and also the change of the liturgy in the church. Today we are already on the 32nd Sunday. Next Sunday is the last of the ordinary time, and the whole year will be crowned by the feast of Christ the King that will conclude the entire calendar of the church. And then the following week will be Advent for 2020. And so the tone of the liturgy is also adapting to the season. It is talking about the final things. And today, the topic of the liturgy, of the readings, is about resurrection. We go straight to the question: how do we qualify for the resurrection? It is evidenced by the readings, for example, that the epistle from the second book of Maccabees is talking about, this happened around 4th century BC, when Israel was invaded by the Greeks, who were very cruel, and they destroyed their temples, and they pushed the people, the inhabitants, to the countryside and forced them to observe their pagan laws. The Maccabean family with the 7 sons refused to do that. And that is why they were tortured, and each one of them were killed. All of them were talking about the same tone. That I choose to die for the true King. And it was the last son who said, because the King of the universe will raise me up again. But for you, there will be no resurrection. And so, some will not qualify, as evidenced by that testimony of the Maccabean sons. So we go back to the question: how do we qualify for the resurrection? Now, before we answer that, since it is a nice, bright, cool day, let's have a joke. There was a lady who approached me and said, Father, I have a friend, and he has a new hobby. I'm worried about him. I said, what hobby? She said, bird imitation. I said, what's wrong with bird imitation? And she said, be sure not to park your car under the wrong tree. Thank God in the parking lot we don't have a large tree, so we are safe. Anyway, we will answer the question 2 ways. First, we will need the help of the official teaching of the Catholic Church. What does the Catholic dogma talk about resurrection? And then second, we will answer the question, see the relevance of the question to our lives. So according to Catholic doctrine, nature, including human nature, underwent 3 stages. The 3 stages of nature. The first stage, which happened after creation, is called natura pura, pure nature. It was nature that was freshly created by God. Everything was clean and beautiful. If you can remember the nursery rhyme we used to recite when we were babies in the school, it says, all things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, All things wise and wonderful. The Lord God made him all. Very good, you remembered. Anyway, creation, after creation, everything was wise and bright and beautiful. It's like the brand new car that you bought straight from the dealership. There is no dent. There's no rust. It smells good. Everything is working freshly. So God is a good God, and He did not create evil. God did not invent death or illness or ignorance or pain or suffering. How can a good God do that? You know, He made everything good, bright, and beautiful. But something wrong happened. Satan tempted Eve and the first parents out of pride and rebellion and disobedience. And so, because of sin, nature fell. Natura lapsa, fallen nature. Sin came to the world. There was distortion of order, disobedience, and so death came. And pain, and suffering, and ignorance. Because of these are the results of sin. You can see this, you know, anywhere you look around. God created the world beautiful, but man messes them up because of sin. The effects of sin in the world. Every time man comes in and distorts order because of selfishness and disobedience and pride, the result, death, suffering, violence, and pain. Fallen nature. Sin came to the world. But then, nature has to be repaired. So as early as the second chapter of Genesis, God planned the repair. Adam and Eve did something they cannot repair. God has to do the repair Himself. And so when God talked to the serpent, He told him, there will be a young virgin, a young woman. In Hebrew, it's called the Alma, who will have a son. You know, it's contradictory. How can a virgin have a son? It will take generations to prove that. She said, that virgin, that girl, will step on your head, will defeat you, but you will bite his heel, the son. You will poison him and kill him. It will take generations for the Annunciation and the crucifixion of Jesus. But the whole thing was planned by God with the prophets and the patriarchs, Abraham, the kings, David and Solomon, and all, of them prepared for the coming of Jesus. Then the church was established because the nature has to be redeemed, natura redempta. Jesus established the church and the sacraments as antidote and remedy for the effects of sin, because nature has to be lifted up again. And so that is why there is resurrection. Because if death is the end, what is the use of repairing nature? If God left the world without intention of raising it back and human nature to be raised again, what is the use of planning and sending Jesus to die and to rise? What's the use of the church? What's the use of confession, forgiveness, Eucharist? If there is no other life, these are all given to us so the wound of sin is repaired so that we will be prepared for the next life, to open heaven again so we'll have access to it like in the beginning. There is no sense at all if there is no resurrection. Okay? So that's from the dogmatic theology of the church. Now let's go straight to the question. How do we qualify? That's more interesting now because some will not, as evidenced by the story of the Maccabees. Now, let's go back to the basics. When we were created by God, according to the Bible, when God made us, what did He do? He bowed down and He scooped some dirt. That's very exciting. We came from dirt. Are you thrilled? We are dirt, baby. You know, we came from dirt, which means that we came from earth because we are earth people. We are from earth. What is the universe made of? What is the earth made of? Iron, basic structural unit of planets and cars and homes. Our body, iron. The blood is iron. Then we have oxygen, hydrogen, phosphorus, acid, carbon from A to zinc. Okay? Because we are earth. We are earth people. But that wasn't enough. God shaped the dirt into like a human form, and then He breathed on our nostrils the breath of life. Then we became alive. We inhaled the image of God. So we are made of these two like contrasting principles. First, the earth, our earth side that is responsible for all the earthly problems that we have. What are these earth issues we have to struggle? Our pride. Then, how we treat each other. We judge people. We mistreat people. We hurt them. Jealousy. Violence. Unforgiveness. Intrigues, suspicion. These are all our earthly soil, dirty side. The horror that we do to each other, unbelievable pain that we cause other people. Look around. You know, man is capable of very cruel things. Sometimes we pride ourselves of our knowledge and intelligence, but we are nothing else than savage beasts with baseball caps. The horror we do to others. That is the dirty side, that is the earth side of us that we have to admit. On the other hand, because we also have the image of God in us, we are also capable of great things. We are also capable of sublime, noble things like love, like compassion, and pity, and peace, friendships. Those are beautiful things that you're also capable. So, what do we do now? Okay? What do we do now? If all your life you just cultivated the earthly, dirty side, the violent, unforgiving side of you, when you face God, at the end, He won't recognize you. When He looks at your face, He says, I do not know you. All your life, you were nasty. All your life, you were violent. All your life, you were bad. I don't recognize you. You'll go back to earth because that's what you are. Messy and dirty. You have no space here. I don't recognize you. All your life, you cultivated the dirty side of yourself. But on the other hand, if you cultivated the wonderful, sublime, and noble side of you, that you were compassionate, understanding, kind, and peaceful, when you face God, He will say, "Oops, I know you. I see my face in you. Come in. You have space here with me. Welcome to the resurrection." The question now is, after those so many years of our lives, what did we cultivate? What did we cultivate? You have an idea of where you're going. Okay? Look back. What did you work on? What did you cultivate? Can you face God and look at Him straight in the eyes when you meet Him? You know the answer. That's an open ending. That's the end of the homily today. Okay?